Welcome to English Story Hub. Learn English through fun stories. Improve vocabulary, listening, and speaking skills. Like, subscribe, and keep learning with us.
The stranger who changed my life. I stood at the edge of the bridge, looking down at the river that flowed endlessly beneath. The city lights shimmered on the water, mocking my emptiness with their cold beauty. Wind whipped across my face, and I could hear the distant honking of cars, the low hum of life continuing without me. I was invisible to this world, and that thought should have scared me, but it didn't. It comforted me. Because for the first time in my life, I felt like I had nothing to lose. Just a few months ago, things had looked different. I had a job in a marketing firm, a small rented apartment, and a girlfriend who believed in my potential even when I didn't. But slowly, everything crumbled. I was laid off after the company downsized. Bills piled up. My girlfriend left, exhausted by my spiraling self-destruction. And my parents, already disappointed in my life choices, stopped answering my calls. I stopped trying. Days bled into nights. I drank to forget, and when the alcohol ran out, I tried to sleep through the hunger. So now, here I was, on the ledge, wondering how it would feel to fall. Would I scream? Would I feel pain? Or would it just be peace? Nice view, isn't it? A voice said from behind me. I flinched, startled. I turned around quickly and saw a man in his late 50s standing a few feet away. He wore a dark trench coat, his hands tucked casually into the pockets. His face was weathered but calm, and he had the kind of presence that somehow made you pause. "What do you want?" I asked harshly, wiping away the tears I hadn't realized were there. "Nothing," he said with a shrug. "Just thought I'd join you. Cold night, though. Mind if I smoke?" I shook my head, confused. He lit a cigarette and leaned against the railing a few steps from me, exhaling a thin stream of smoke into the wind. We stood in silence for what felt like minutes. I kept glancing at him, wondering if he was some kind of counselor, or worse, a cop. But he didn't say anything. He didn't ask me to step down. He didn't plead. He just existed beside me. "Most people try to talk me out of it," I muttered eventually. He gave a half smile. "I figured you've already had plenty of people trying to talk you into or out of things your whole life." That hit a nerve. I didn't reply. He turned slightly to face me. "You ever heard the story of the man who lost everything, and then found himself?" "Sounds like something from a movie," I replied. "Most true stories do," he said. "But they rarely end the way you think." I studied him. There was something odd about him, his calmness, his presence, like he belonged to a different world. Or maybe he had stood on this bridge himself once. "You planning to jump?" he asked, not unkindly. I hesitated. "Maybe." "Well," he said, flicking ash into the wind, "before you do, How about a deal? Give life 30 more days. Just 30. If nothing changes by then, I'll come back here with you and we'll jump together. I stared at him. You are insane. Maybe, he said. But I'm also offering you something no one else has, a clean slate. No past. No pressure. Just 30 days. And in those days, you follow 3 simple rules. That's all. My heart pounded. Part of me wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to scream at him. But the smallest, quietest part, maybe the part that still hoped, said, "What if?" "What rules?" I asked, voice hoarse. He smiled. Rule 1, wake up before the sun and take a walk with no destination. Rule 2, talk to one stranger every day, don't ask for anything, just listen. Rule 3, every night, write down one regret and burn it. I blinked. That's it. He nodded. Simple, but not easy. And if I do this for 30 days? You'll either find a reason to live, or a better reason to die. But at least you'll know. I didn't know what made me agree. Maybe it was his voice. Maybe it was the quiet strength in his eyes. Or maybe I was just too tired to fight anymore. Fine, I said. 30 days. Good, he said, crushing the cigarette under his shoe. I'll see you again. Or maybe you'll never need to see me. Before I could ask his name, he was already walking away, blending into the darkness of the street. And just like that, the man who would change my life disappeared into the night. I woke the next morning before dawn. For the first time in months, I had a reason to get up, not a good reason, maybe not even a sane one, but a reason nonetheless. My body protested every movement, aching from weeks of neglect and malnourishment. My mind, dull and heavy, felt fogged with the remnants of hopelessness. But I pulled on the only clean clothes I had left, shoved my feet into cracked sneakers, and stepped outside. The early morning air was sharp, crisp, and still. I hadn't seen this side of the city in a long time. The streets were nearly empty, bathed in a soft orange hue from the street lights. That was the rule, after all, no destination. At first, it felt pointless. Wandering aimlessly was something I did in my apartment all the time. But as I walked further, something strange happened. My thoughts started to slow. My chest felt a little less tight. For those few minutes, I wasn't a failure or a burden or a disappointment. I was just a man on a walk. I wandered past closed storefronts, empty benches, and the occasional jogger. I didn't speak. I didn't even check my phone. And for once, I didn't feel the need to. When the sun finally peaked above the skyline, something stirred in me. A sense of quiet awe. It was the kind of sunrise that could make you believe in second chances. I didn't smile, not yet. But I stopped walking, took a breath, and whispered, Okay. One day done. Back home, I boiled water for tea. No sugar. No milk. Just bitter leaves in a chipped mug. I sat on the floor, sipping slowly, thinking about the next rule: talk to a stranger. The idea filled me with dread. I hadn't talked to anyone properly in weeks, maybe months. But I had made a promise, and for some reason, I wanted to keep it. So after washing up, I left again, this time during the late morning hours. When the city started to stir, I walked toward the park, thinking it might be easier to find someone there. On a worn bench sat an older woman feeding pigeons from a paper bag. Her grey hair was tied back neatly, and her eyes looked tired but kind. I hesitated, then sat beside her. "You come here often?" I asked awkwardly. She chuckled. "What are you, a movie character?" I blinked. "Sorry. I'm supposed to talk to a stranger today." She looked at me curiously, not unkindly. "That's so? Why?" "It's a long story," I muttered. She shrugged. "I've got time." And so, I listened as she told me about her late husband, how they used to come to this park every Sunday for over 40 years. How after he passed, she still came, feeding the same birds he used to curse for pooping on his shoes. Her voice carried warmth, and even when she spoke of loss, there was peace in her tone. Like she had accepted it all: joy, pain, love, grief, as part of the same whole. When she paused, I said softly, "I think I needed to hear that." She patted my hand gently. "We all need someone to listen now and then, even if we don't ask." I left the park feeling lighter. Not happy, not healed, but lighter. That night, I sat in front of a torn notebook, staring at the blank page. The third rule: write one regret and burn it. At first, I didn't know what to write. So many regrets competed in my mind, it was hard to pick just one. Eventually, I scribbled, "I regret not telling her how scared I was when I lost my job. I pushed her away when I needed her most." I tore the page out, took a lighter from the kitchen, and walked to the balcony. The paper curled and blackened as the flame ate through the ink. I watched it turn to ash, bits of it floating away like dying stars. There was something cleansing in it, symbolic, maybe, but real enough for me. And so, the days passed. Every morning, I woke before the sun and walked. Some days, I wandered through alleys and back streets I had never noticed. Other mornings, I walked along the river, watching the fog roll off the water. The city looked different at that hour, quieter, older, like it remembered a time before cell phones and honking cars. Each day, I spoke to one stranger. A barista who hated coffee but loved the customers. A teenager drawing graffiti under a bridge who told me he wanted to be a tattoo artist. A man who would just gotten out of prison and was terrified to look his mother in the eye again. Their stories weren't dramatic, just real. Honest. And slowly, I began to realize something. Everyone carried something. Pain, fear, dreams, regret. But they still kept going. Every night, I burned a regret. I regret giving up on music. I regret ghosting my best friend when he needed me. I regret believing I wasn't good enough. At some point, the regrets became harder to write. Not because I didn't have more, but because they were buried deeper. By day 10, something had shifted. My walks weren't just routines, they were grounding. My conversations weren't just tasks, they were healing. I started to look forward to each day with a kind of cautious curiosity. I didn't have a job. I didn't have much money. One afternoon, while walking near the same bridge where I had first met him, I saw him again, the stranger. He was sitting on a bench, sipping something from a thermos. He looked the same, calm, unbothered, slightly amused. "You are still alive," he said, not as a question, but an observation. "Yeah," I replied. "It's weird." He nodded. "Still following the rules?" I sat down beside him. "I am. And it's helping." "Not surprised," he said. "Sometimes the simplest things bring us back." "Who are you?" I asked. "Why did you help me?" He took a long sip, then set the thermos down. "Once upon a time," he said, "someone helped me. I was where you were, maybe worse. And a man gave me the same rules. I didn't understand it then, but now I get it." I frowned. "So, this is like a chain?" He smiled. "Exactly. We are not meant to be saved and then move on. We are meant to pass it forward." I thought about that for a moment. "You think I'll want to help someone else one day?" He looked at me with a gaze that felt both ancient and young. "You already are," he said. We sat in silence again, just like the first night. No pressure, no preaching. Just being. Eventually, I asked, "What happens after 30 days?" He stood up, stretched, and picked up his thermos. "That's up to you," he said. "But I think you'll find you've already answered the question by then." And once again, he walked away before I could ask his name. That night, my regret was,